Okay, it is almost past, so I am very happy to introduce our third speaker. We are moving from more theoretical to applied topic in as far as relevant theory is concerned, and the Aglaia's topic actually is teaching English and its contribution to intercultural education, the use of conversational implicatures with the help of corpora. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. So today I will be presenting my current research with this title, Teaching English and its Contribution to Intercultural Education, with a specific use of conversation implicatures with the help of materials retrieved from corpora. In today's presentation, just a minute, please. Just a moment, because I can't change the slides. Let me check what's wrong. Just give me a moment to check because I can't change the slide. Excuse me for that. To go back to the presentation.
Sure.
Okay, I'm sharing again. Sorry for that. So we are. So I'll start with some keynotes, such as what's the role of English in intercultural education, what's the role of pragmatics and its connection with intercultural competence, some challenges that teachers face when they have to teach implicatures, and finally, some practical applications in classroom activities. All right. So it's true that English plays a crucial role in the Greek educational system, not only as a core subject, but also as a means of fostering intercultural education. In today's globalized world, students need to develop intercultural competence, which goes beyond just learning the language itself. While learning English provides access to cultural knowledge, true intercultural education is not about just memorizing cultural facts. It involves deeper engagement, understanding how language is used in different cultural contexts, and how meaning is conveyed beyond literal level. This brings us to our key question: how can we teach English in a way that enhances intercultural competence? This question will guide our discussion as we explore the role of conversation implicatures and corpora in promoting both language proficiency and intercultural understanding. So it's true that English as a global language plays a fundamental role in facilitating intercultural communication. It allows individuals from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds to connect, collaborate, and share ideas. Intercultural education is crucial because it helps students navigate cultural diversity, not just by learning about different cultures, but also by developing the skills needed to interact effectively in diverse settings. This means that teaching English should go beyond grammar and vocabulary. It should also focus on cultural awareness and, more importantly, pragmatic competence. Pragmatic competence refers to the ability to understand how meaning changes across different cultural contexts. For example, the same phrase can carry different implications depending on the culture and the situation. If students are not aware of how of these differences, misunderstandings can arise. This is why incorporating pragmatics into English teaching is essential for effective intercultural communication. So, to understand how meaning is conveyed beyond the literal level, we need to look at conversational implicatures, a key concept in pragmatics. Conversational implicatures refer to meaning that are implied rather than explicitly stated, and they play a crucial role in everyday communication, as speakers often rely on shared knowledge and context to convey their true intentions. Grice introduced the concept of implicature as part of his theory of conversation, and he proposed the four maxes as we know them: the maxim of quantity, quality, relation, and manner. However, in real conversations, people often float these maxims, leading to conversational implicatures. For example, if someone asks, "Are you coming to the party?" and the response is, "I have to work early tomorrow," the person is not directly saying no, but the implication is clear. So let's see how they function as pragmatics can function as a bridge to enhancing intercultural competence. Pragmatic competence is not just about knowing the language, it's about understanding how meaning is shaped by cultural norms and social expectations. Effective communication in a second language requires more than just vocabulary and grammar. It requires awareness of how messages are interpreted in different cultural settings. For example, indirectness is often used to express politeness in English-speaking cultures, while in other cultures, like Greek in my case, directness might be preferred. A phrase like, "It's a bit chilly in here," may imply a request to close the window in one culture, while in another it might be simply a factual statement. Similarly, in Greek, expressions of politeness or formality may differ significantly from English norms. By teaching conversational implicatures, we help students become more sensitive to these cross-cultural differences, allowing them to avoid misunderstandings and communicate more effectively in real-life intercultural situations. This prepares them not only for academic success, but also for meaningful global interactions. So, why is teaching implicatures challenging? First of all, because pragmatic knowledge is often neglected in traditional language institutions. Secondly, because textbooks focus on grammar and vocabulary but overlook indirect meaning. Thirdly, because learners may misinterpret implicatures due to cultural differences. And finally, because teachers need some more practical strategies and tools to integrate implicature teaching. So, a corpus that I used for my research is essentially a large structured collection of real-life spoken and written language, which, unlike traditional textbooks, provide authentic examples of how language is actually used in different contexts. For example, in my research, I used the corpus of Contemporary American English, COCA, which is one of the most widely used English corpora, containing texts from newspapers, spoken conversations, academic writing, and fiction. It allows researchers and language learners to analyze language patterns and pragmatic features, such as how implicatures function in different contexts. In a previous research, I had made use of the British National Corpus, the BNC, which provides a broad representation of British English, covering both spoken and written sources. What are the advantages now of using the corpora? By using corpora, we can move beyond intuition and assumptions about language use and instead base our teaching on real linguistic data. This is particularly useful for developing pragmatic competence, as students can see how native speakers actually express politeness, indirectness, and other pragmatic features in natural conversations. Now, let's dive into some hands-on activities in order to understand how the corpora can be used teaching pragmatics. So this first activity will focus on the phrase, "I'm not sure if," which is often used in English to show hesitation, politeness, or even indirect disagreement. But what does it actually mean in different contexts? So here is what we did. First, students use the corpus, in my case, COCA corpus, to look up real-life examples for this phrase in spoken English. They found 5 to 6 examples and saw how native speakers actually used it. Then we move on to the analysis part. For each example, students ask themselves, what was literally said? What was actually meant with that phrase? How does the context influence the meaning? This is key because depending on the situation of "if I'm not sure if" can mean much more than just uncertainty. It can be a polite way to avoid saying no directly, or a way to introduce a disagreement without sounding too harsh. Next, we brought the cultural aspect. We discussed, why do English speakers use this kind of indirectness? How does this compare with Greek? Would a Greek speaker say something similar in the same way, or do we tend to be more direct in Greek? To wrap up, we did a role play activity where students created their own dialogues using indirect expressions in both English and Greek. By the end of the activity, students had a deeper understanding of how language works beyond just words. They saw how implicatures shaped real communication and how different cultures use indirectness in different ways. It's a great way to build pragmatic awareness and intercultural communication at the same time. Moving on to the next activity. The next activity is designed to help students develop intercultural awareness by analyzing how indirect expressions and pragmatic implicatures differ between the two languages. The goal was to help them avoid misinterpretations in cross-cultural communication. This is particularly important in language learning because pragmatic competence often differs across cultures, leading to misunderstandings. So to begin with, I introduce students to the concept of implicatures, how speakers often imply meanings indirectly rather than stating them explicitly. For example, if an English speaker says it's getting late, they might be suggesting that it's time to leave, wrap up a conversation, or even go to bed, depending on the context. And now we translate something similar to Greek, which didn't carry the exact same implication. A Greek speaker might not interpret it in the same way as the student said, and as directness and indirectness function differently between the two languages. This led to interesting discussions on how these expressions are perceived differently between the two languages. After this introduction, students worked in pairs or small groups to explore more examples of indirect expressions. They compared whether these Greek equivalents function the same way or if their implications differed. This allowed them to recognize the role of culture in shaping language use. The final stage of the activity was a class discussion where they explored key questions such as, do Greek speakers use the same level of indirectness as English speakers? In what situations are Greek speakers more direct than English speakers? Can misunderstanding implicatures lead to miscommunication or in intercultural interactions? Students reflected on their own experiences and shared examples of when misinterpretations have happened. We also discussed how L1 transfer, applying Greek pragmatic rules in English, can sometimes lead to unintended meanings. And to sum up, this activity encouraged students to become more aware of the cultural differences in pragmatics and the impact of indirect speech. By engaging in these comparisons, they enhance their ability to navigate intercultural conversations effectively. These exercises can also be expanded with corpus-based researches to see how these expressions are used in real context. The whole study contained 6 of these activities. I just presented 2 of them. Each pair of activities focus on something different. Some others focus on some ways of expressing indirect meaning. So the results were contained many more pragmatic elements apart from indirect and direct questions. So what are the benefits of using the corpus? First of all, it's authenticity, where learners engage with real-life language. Also, it helps them cultivate their critical thinking because it encourages students to analyze and interpret meaning. Moreover, it makes them more autonomous because during this research, students worked in pairs with the use of a computer and found the examples of the corpus by themselves. So they explored language independently. And finally, the aim of the study was to raise their intercultural awareness because they recognized how meaning shifts across cultures. So some general conclusions about the use of corpora when teaching pragmatics is that English teaching in Greek schools can support intercultural education, but for the time being, the books that are used in this concept do not pay emphasis on this domain. Also, conversational implicatures are key to understanding cultural differences. And towards that direction, corpora can provide a modern, data-driven approach to teaching pragmatics. Finally, students are very enthusiastic when they deal with that kind of examples and that kind of activities. It encourages them to explore real-life language use and prepares them for effective communication in a multicultural world. So that's the end of my presentation, some of the sources that I used. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this interesting presentation. Now the floor is open to questions and comments. Please speak up, anyone who wants to ask a question.
Aglaia, thank you for your presentation. It's very, very, very important to think about the intercultural relations in teaching English as a foreign language. Could you deep a little more about the way relevant theory helps you to design the ideas of your work and to analyze the data? And do you find some questions about the theory or define the theory, for example, in your work?
Right. Well, yes, my choice was to use relevance theory because I was looking for a theory that conveyed that dealt with how meaning is conveyed beyond the literal level. And because I worked with students that are aged between 9 and 11 years old, it was easier for me to make use of Grice's maxims, quality, quantity, relation, and manner. However, I understood during the process that in their minds it wasn't clear whether something is implicitly or explicitly stated. For example, some of them believed that when you say, for example, it's really hot in here, that that's an explicit question to someone to open the window. They couldn't understand that you have to, there are some levels in between this analysis to reach that assumption. So because relevance theory made use of these stages that take place in order to reach the conclusion of what the speaker wants to say, that's why I used it. It's also updated, newer than other principles, and therefore I thought that for specific age of the students that I worked with, it was the most appropriate one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm afraid there are no any further questions. So let us thank Aglaia once again for her very interesting talk and presentation. We certainly have been inspired by your presentation, and employing corpora in teaching English, I think, is a great idea. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the lunch break now, and we will see each other later on in the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.